Hey friends, Kakabira here, and today I would love to talk to you about spell casting. Now, admittedly, we could talk a long time about this because we cast spells in terms of how we talk to ourselves and how we talk to one another, in terms of how we write. We could even get into spell casting and sex magic, but where I would really love to hone in on is spell casting, and if you're a teacher or a practitioner or healer, the importance, how vital it is to first be neutral, and that there is a power in projection. So when I'm teaching group yoga classes, one thing that I'm really conscious of, both in terms of my individual adjustments in words and also in terms of how I'm languaging the class, is knowing that I can really empower my students and I can also disempower them, both in the energetic field that I'm holding, but also in how I'm encouraging and supporting. And where I'd like to hone in on a little bit more is when you're working privately with someone, one-on-one. So just the other day, I went to a friend who is like an osteopath, among other things. And I have been going through like a rough time. And yet, like, for any of us going through rough times, it's not like we're always in the dark. One thing that I remember when my brother had passed away, and like I had many deaths that year, it was the year of so much darkness and pain, but also so much light and growth. So there's always going to be a contrast. It's never just one, it's not monotone, right? It's so many different textures and colors. So actually when I walked in, I was feeling really good, but because she'd remembered that I had a tough time and she had her own stories going on, instead of taking the time to really listen and see me and feel me, there was so much projection of, well, you must be just be in a really bad place. And I wasn't feeling that at all. And it just really reminded me of why I teach what I teach in my energy school. So one of the basic tenets is the power of neutrality. And in the work that I do, and of course it's not limited just to my work, but we're working with the quantum field. And in this, it means that anything that we're looking at, we can actually influence from our own perspective. In other words, the subject, like that which is being regarded or looked at, will be influenced by the viewer. And, that's what's so magical about having so many humans on the planet, because we're constantly co-creating and we're all having very different perspectives and projections that we're like creating together in this whole reality, on this whole planet and other dimensions. So it's something where, and without you knowing anything about energy, like you can feel this when you're talking to someone, and you can feel like, yeah, they might be saying like, it's so great to see you, but you can feel underneath they're like, I secretly still hate you. Or, like someone's like, oh, you can do it, but you can feel underneath that it's like, I actually don't really believe in you. So, there is just that thing also of like, when we talk about empowering language, that you want to be congruent, because your energy must match your words, because otherwise like those words will have no potency. And as a side note, if you're looking at what you're going to manifest in your life, one of the primary things when you're working with manifesting is it's not just about what you're declaring and owning and saying like, I am experiencing this, I am having this right now. Like, you better believe it. Like, if there's no sincerity, if you don't believe it, it's not going to happen. So there has to be a congruency of energy in the words. So that's something where, as a practitioner, it's like I have to keep checking myself, like, how real am I with this person? So there is a lot that we can spell cast on someone, both by the words that are coming out of our mouth, but also our energetic field. And that does not mean that you have to like the person all the time, but it's just realizing that you do have an impact on someone else's field. And especially when we're talking about you're actually working with someone whether it's a yoga class or an energy session or some sort of therapy, there's a high level of vulnerability and a high level of openness and usually a lot of trust. So someone's system is going to be absorbing more, and potentially even the brain waves are slower. So the theta brainwave state, which we do get into yoga and meditation and in energy work, and when our nervous system relaxes, it's our dream state, but it's also the state where we're the most highly suggestible. So it's a very powerful place to be in, but also it's a place where, it's a sensitive place. You want to be really aware of how you're managing when you're in the state with someone, and what are you saying and doing. So I teach neutrality. And then in my energy school, I teach the importance of neutrality, and then that there's the power of the feminine and the power of the masculine. So what I mean by this is, in neutrality, and of course we could do a long argument, like, are we ever completely objective? Of course we're subjective, just from our gender, our upbringing. We could argue like what we've carried from our ancestors. There's a lot that's influencing us, but there's also a huge difference between someone who's actually conscious and aware that you are impacted by your history, and that could impact how you view someone. So it is an art to learn to be neutral, because we haven't really taught that. We actually have been taught automatically how to project on someone. And we can project our fears, our insecurities, our old pain, our old wounds, also what we want. I know that like when I used to teach these big yoga trainings with students, it would be equally terrifying when students would look at me like, oh my God, Kat, like you're this great guru and you can fix everything. Like you're the Wizard of Oz. And really having to hold myself like, I'm a human. And at the same time, also when someone's projecting like, you're my evil sister. I don't know if you can hear a storm, but there's an amazing storm coming. You're my evil sister. You're my ex-boyfriend. You're my mom. You're my dad. And how I have to keep holding steady so that I don't play into and absorb the projection. So for any of my people who are either therapists, coaches, teachers, you want to keep that center and neutrality so that you keep the energy field clean. And so someone can actually work out whatever their story and pain is, but just realize that it was just a projection and it doesn't have as much to do with the other. Now, going back to just like working one-on-one with someone and why I teach neutrality in an energy session is that it actually, what you want to see before you take action is what's actually here. So when I sit down with someone, I'm not like maybe they're like, oh, I got a back pain, and I've got this energy cord connected to my ex, and can you release it? And I keep that in mind, and I do have them set their intentions, but I have to sit and in some ways like forget my agenda, because agenda is already pushing energy on someone, and I have to even forget their agenda, and we both have to drop into a space where, how do we just be with this so we see what's really going on? And it takes a bit to actually learn how to hone this space. And admittedly, because I've been running these trainings for 15 years, it can be a little frustrating in the beginning because it's like we want to know, right? But when you get into that space, suddenly you see such deeper truths emerge. And it's really helped me when I've got really complicated problems and challenges with clients where we're like, what's really going on here? Because a lot of times people come to me where like they're at their last resort, like nothing else is working. So I'm like, okay, what is it that we don't know? Because if we did know, we'd be doing it, right? So once you can really see what's going on, and I could talk for like 30 more minutes on this, but I'm aware that we only have a little bit more time. Once you finally sense what's going on, the feminine approach, which is more biodynamic craniosacral therapy, want to learn more, train with me, is learning how to follow, which again, we know how to do, and there's a huge place for that, but how do we learn to follow? Because we start to connect to a much deeper intelligence. We can call it the field, source, the divine, the universe, God. But it's like there's this deeper intelligence that's bigger than me, bigger than you, and it's like it's holding us all the time. And it really takes us to where we need to go. And I gotta say, The miracles, when people are like, oh my God, Kat, how did you do that? I'm like, I didn't do it, right? So it's like really learning how to follow. And there's such power and grace. And I could just go on a long litany of the amazing healings that I've witnessed from this. The masculine has its place. The challenge is that in societies, we've overemphasized the masculine, which is like, let's do. But first it's like, well, let's get all the information. Let's see and be very precise and succinct and elegant in when we put that input in. And the masculine's important, where sometimes it's like, actually, yeah, we need to pull this together. I do know where we need to go. So there is a differentiation, and it takes practice to really learn of like, when do we go into the feminine and allow? And it's not passive in how you would consider it, but it's a deeper trust and surrender to this, like, actually, if I let go of the steering wheel, oh my God, there's this other life force that's been driving it all along, right? And it's like, talk about being able to relax in life and trust life and let life carry you and realize there's like a much bigger plan. Like, we all need this, right? And then it's like, oh, but wait a minute. I also have power. I have choice. And, as a practitioner, it's like, well, when do I give some input? And that can be in specific words. It can be where you're placing your attention. It can be how you're placing your hands. Now, if you'd love to learn more, you can train with me privately. You can work with me. I run energy trainings around the world, mostly Bali these days. And I just would absolutely love to empower you to really understand your own energy body, but also, especially if you're working with people, whether it's one-on-one or groups, really seeing the power that you have in the quality of space that you hold. And that really, like, we all want to win together on this planet, right? And we all want to rise together. And so for you to really start to sense not only that you're lit, inspired, and empowered, but how you can empower others. Because it's like, that's the juice. That's the game changer. I wish you such a beautiful day wherever you are, and I hope to see you somewhere soon. Bye.